It's time for the Daily Stand Up Podcast presented by AgileDad with your host, Lee Henson. Without any further ado, let's get started.
Back in 1984, a pop group called Depeche Mode wrote a hit song, People Are People, so why should it be? You and I should get along so awfully. Doom, doom, doom. Now, I know many of you listening to this podcast probably don't remember that song, or you're not old enough to remember Depeche Mode from 1984. But back when I was in high school, no, I'm not even going to go there. I'm about to show how old I am. I think the message still rings true today, much like the message of the Agile Manifesto back in 2001. This message talks about treating people with dignity and respect, no matter what walk of life they come from, no matter who they love, who they worship, who they are, and all that good stuff. And on today's Agile, Not So Agile episode of the Daily Stand Up, I thought I'd talk to you about what we mean when we say people are people and how does that impact our day to day work. So, one of my groups that I recently consulted with, I heard different teams within the organization who will remain anonymous. And one group referred to everyone as headcount. One group referred to everyone as resources. One group referred to everyone as just butts and seats. I even heard somebody refer to developers as monkeys on a leash. And I was like, these are all worse than the next one. And nobody ever treated these people with dignity and respect. Oh, we just need to add a few more headcount. I felt like I was in the middle of a Texas ranch. How many headcount you got there? It felt horrible. And one of the things that I encourage my students to do when they take my certified Scrum Master class or product owner class is I always invite them to find the person they care the most about, whether it's their partner, their boyfriend, their girlfriend, their husband, their wife, their significant other, whoever it is. And I want to snuggle up next to that person and say, honey, I just want you to know I love you so much. Out of all my resources, you're my absolute favorite. Now, what I can tell you is while that sounds funny, you are definitely going to have stimulating conversation, but I'm not promising it's going to go in a positive direction. I think that one of the values that we need to do is make sure that we're treating individuals like individuals. I mean, in the Agile Manifesto, it says individuals and interactions over processes and tools. But if we're not treating people like individuals, then where are we, right? What are we doing? So I think it's so critical for us to acknowledge people for their time, skills, talents, etc. And I think it's critical for us to understand what impact we play on helping them figure out what they do. So, as a coach or a scrum master or as a parent or as a spouse, I think it's important that you follow this next piece of advice. So, one of the pieces of advice that I learned from Richard Branson was that he said, to me, individuals should not be judged based on who they love, who they worship, the color of their skin, how tall or short they are. None of that should matter, right? That we need to look at each individual as a person of great worth and value. And that if we picked out the one quality trait or characteristic about that person that we admired the most, and we tried to, do our own version of that quality trait until we met the next new person, that would make us a more well-rounded person and somebody that people wanted to be around. So my challenge to you is to look at the people around you that you surround yourself with and ask yourself, is this person adding positive karma and value to my life? And if they are, great. If they're not, ask, what could I be doing differently so that this person could be adding positive value? Or you can ask yourself, what am I doing wrong because this person is not adding value? And I challenge you to look to those who you surround yourself with and identify one strength or character trait about them and make sure that they know how much you appreciate that strength, right? And if you do that, in addition to things like a gratitude journal, in addition to things like common goal setting, I think that this is one of those pieces that help you have meaningful relationships. And it doesn't matter whether it's with your coworker on a team or your spouse or your boyfriend or your girlfriend or your children or your significant other, it doesn't matter. This is one of those things that applies across the board. So I think when the Agile Manifesto was written in 2001, they did get it right. Individuals and interactions are so critical, but try to find ways to avoid using words that are hurtful, like resources or warm bodies or headcount. Try to find a way to talk about, hey, how many additional team members will it take for us to get this team up to speed? Or how many teams are we working with, right? And I think that if you just replace those words interchangeably with teams or with people, it becomes a lot easier for you to comfortably talk about those individuals without making them feel like they're of less value or worth. So that's going to do it. I'm going to keep it short and sweet. I hope that you have an amazing weekend. And, we look forward to seeing you on Monday for another episode of the Daily Stand Up Podcast. Until then, we encourage you to stay healthy, stay well, and stay agile, my friends. Until next time, do take care.